When someone asks you, what do you think about this? Do you immediately say, I think it's good and stop there? If you do, don't worry. Your sentence is correct. But today, I'm going to show you how to make your opinion sound more natural, expressive, and conversational without using complicated English. Hello everyone, welcome back to English with Gopi. In this video, we are going to learn something you can use in almost every conversation. Because giving your opinion is not just about saying what you think, it is about showing how strongly you feel about it and explaining why you feel that way. Let's start with something simple. I think it is good. Now imagine you are talking to a friend about a new restaurant and you visited, and instead of stopping there, you say, I think it is really good, especially the food. The atmosphere is quite nice, and so I would definitely go there again. Did you notice what changed? You didn't use difficult vocabulary or complicated grammar. You simply took your opinion and gave the listener a little more information, which makes the conversation feel much more natural. Now, let's say you don't completely agree with someone. Your first reaction might be, I don't agree. That is perfectly understandable, but in a real conversation, you can make it more softer and more natural by saying, I am not sure I completely agree with that. Or, I see your point, but I look at it a little differently. These expressions are useful because conversations aren't always about proving that you are right. Sometimes you agree, sometimes you disagree, sometimes you are somewhere in the middle. So, English gives you a different ways to express exactly what you feel. Let's take another example. Someone asks you, do you think working from home is better? You could simply say, yes, I think it is better. But a more natural answer would be, personally, I think working from home can be better because I have more flexibility and you don't have to spend time traveling. Now, imagine you don't have strong opinion. You don't have to force yourself to say yes or no. You can say it depends and then explain what you mean because some jobs are much easier to do from home than others. That little phrase, it depends, is incredibly useful because not every question has a simple yes or no answer. It gives you the space to explain your thinking, and it also makes your English sound more natural because you are showing that you have considered both sides. Here is another expression I want you to notice. From my point of view. From my point of view. Okay? For example, you could say, from my point of view, learning English through conversation is more useful than simply memorizing grammar rules. You can also say, as far as I am concerned, which is slightly more advanced way to introduce your personal opinion. Let's make one example sentence. As far as I'm concerned, confidence is just as important as grammar when you are learning to speak. But here is something important, you don't need to use advanced expression in every sentence just to sound fluent. If you naturally say, I think, I feel, I believe, in my opinion, that is completely fine because natural English isn't about making every sentence sound impressive. What really matters is what you do after giving your opinion. Instead of saying your opinion and immediately stopping, giving a reason, or adding an example, or explaining your experience, because that's what turns a short answer into a real conversation. For example, instead of saying, I like learning English, you could say, I really enjoy learning English because it gives me the confidence to communicate with people from different backgrounds. Now, you have given the listener something more meaningful to respond to. And this is where I want you to notice the bigger picture. Good communication isn't about having the most advanced vocabulary. It is about taking a simple idea and expressing it clearly enough for the other person to understand what you really mean. So, the next time someone asks, what do you think? Don't feel that you need a perfect answer. Start with your opinion, then naturally tell them why you think that way. And if you have an example or personal experience, bring that into a conversation as well. For example, I think learning English through movies is useful because you hear real life conversations. I actually learned several expressions that way, and I still use some of them today. That is simple English, but it sounds much more like a real person talking than a memorized textbook answer. That is exactly what I want you to take away from this video. You don't need to make your English so complicated to make it sound more natural. You simply need to give your idea a little more life by explaining what you think, why you think, and sometimes how you experienced it yourself. I hope you can understand. This is English with Gopi. Thank you for watching this video.